everyone, and you're all very welcome to the next of this afternoon's sessions. And now we're going to focus on launching a new visual identity, a UCC case study. And we're delighted to be able to welcome UCC's members of staff. We have Adele Coleman, who is the Enterprise Engagement Manager, and Shane Horan, who has been the social media facilitator on this particular project. So both of them are going to take us through and share their experiences of implementing two specific marketing campaigns, focusing on students and industry stakeholders. Adele and Shane will focus in particular on the importance of brand, tools to help with brand development, creating engagement communications, and using social media to establish a new visual identity. I think these are all things that we're all very eager to learn more about. So as always, we do encourage you to use the Q&A functionality to share your thoughts and ask questions and upvote questions that you like. And now I'm going to let Adele and Shane speak for themselves, and they'll speak for approximately 25 minutes, and then we'll come back on screen again to moderate the questions and answers. So thanks very much. Over to you, Adele.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Catherine, and a huge and for facilitating such a wonderful event. We're absolutely delighted to be a part of it, and just thank you for that. So today, as Catherine mentioned, we will be presenting a case study of UCC Career Services recent rebrand, and we really hope that you will come away from this session with some advice and some information on different tools that you can use to develop your own brand and visual identity, or to get started on creating a new one, increasing your stakeholder engagement with your services. So to kick off and show the before. So before our rebranding exercise really was constituted by our logo. So a logo is and what we essentially did, I suppose, was pull all the colors from our logo and put them onto any promotional material that we had. So you can see that this logo was well thought out. We have a nice journey here. We have the road advice, placement advice, and job highlighted, and any promotion material that we did create, we pulled from those dark navy colors. But as you can see here, that none of the, I suppose, promotion material is aligned. None of the assets scream career services. There's nothing really that identifies besides our logo. Even on one, we just used a color in the logo altogether. So we decided last summer, okay, to change here. I suppose with a recognition, you know, students and graduates, we're in an online world now, and there are so many different outlets competing for their attention. So in order for them to learn more about us, engage with us, and understand who we are and what we do, we needed to make a bigger impact with the materials and resources that we were getting out there. And as well, digital age, everything is about high quality media. If something doesn't look really, I suppose, nicely designed, if something doesn't look really engaging, chances are it's not going to grab the user attention. Also, I suppose during the first lockdown, as I suppose impacted all career staff here, you know, placements were impacted during the COVID-19 pandemic. You had, you know, a turbulent graduate recruitment market. You had an awful lot of uncertainty, and for us, we really wanted to heighten our awareness of our services with employers, try to gain more employer loyalty and their base, and you know, speak more to the SMEs and so on. Now, if you land on an employer website, it's usually well branded, it's usually engaging, stuff is moving, it's nice and clickable, and we decided, okay, we need to speak to them in their language, and we need to heighten our comms to a much higher level to achieve that. So when you're embarking on a journey like this, there are a number you have to think about, do we actually need? Is this something that we need to do? And I suppose best practice is early on to work with your marketing and communications and media teams, have a chat with them, and try to understand what resources are available to you within the university or your institution. A good graphic to engage with early on this, I'd highly recommend that you engage with someone who has an understanding of your institution, who's maybe done some brochures and other work with other units. I suppose the ethos and the messaging and your broader institution brand. So before you even get kicked, there are some questions to consider before you start engaging, before you start talking to a designer. And this is something that we did. We had to think about, okay, what are we actually doing this for? So these questions are things you should bring back to your team and talk about if this is something to work on. So why are we doing a rebrand? We had quite clear reasons. We wanted to increase our impact, but our result increase engagement. And we felt that the brand we had, lack of brand, the logo really is all we had, couldn't make us as impact. You need to as well examine what problem we attempting to solve. So for us, obviously, placements, graduate recruitment was impacted last year, and we wanted to heighten awareness amongst new companies about who we are and what we do. You also have to consider changes in the competitive landscape that's impacting our growth potential. So early on, you know, there were different websites and different initiatives, I suppose, flooding into student mailboxes. And you know, that was obviously competition for us. We were vying for their attention. So anything that we sent to students or that students engaged with platforms, it needed to, I suppose, stand out. We needed to grab their attention. You have to consider if your stakeholder profile has changed. That happened anyway, the COVID-19 pandemic. Does your brand tell our outdated story? So as I said, we had a bit of a logo, but I suppose the problem was that it's so familiar that it had been, I suppose, redesigned and changed around over the course of when it becomes so familiar, it doesn't make as strong of an impact as well thought out as it was. What do we want to convey and to whom? So you need to understand who your target audience is. So when you're developing a visual identity, it's very the stakeholders, you have to create different campaigns. So you need to see who do we want to reach, who do we want to make the most impact with right now, and kind of plan that out into the future. You need to think about it with something that no meaning, I suppose, again, because we kind of just had the logo, it still of course had meaning, but it had gone a little bit outdated. Didn't have any core messages that we were trying to get across our visual identity story. UCC Career Services. You need to think as well as the brand out of step with current needs and desires. As I said earlier, people now expect very high quality. So you need, I suppose, for us, we felt we needed to put our best foot forward and compete with all those other outlets that are vying for attention that have the really well-designed assets. Have you assigned someone to, before you even embark on, you know, creating a new visual identity or anything like that, you think who's actually going to do it? So myself and Shane very much led out on implementing the brand across all of our different platforms. But it's important to be passionate about that and to have a willingness to learn. It was a huge curve for us, and you know, you engage with designers, you get to engage with different units, and it's important that to that. And then a very open question: if you were creating your career services to scratch all the 20 years previous, what brand solution would you come up with? What would you want to put out there, and how would you want the world to your services? So those are questions that just out, you know, if there's a need to do this work, and it can help guide the work as well and highlight your different values. At this stage, then what we did was got on a trainer, we worked with them, and they met with us in groups. They spoke for our work, what we see as important, what are the key messages that we want to do, what are we doing all this work for, what are our goals, and that helped the designer then to create the brand with us. But we had to understand first, what is a brand? You know, as I said, we had the logo, but a brand identity includes the font and so on. It has to have a voice, and your values need to be clear as well. So we wanted to have a very professional tone. We wanted the values of our own staff highlighted in employer campaigns, but we also wanted the skills, the attributes, and highlighted throughout the Focus on You campaign. The brand needs to have personality. We were trying to get very professional, but on the student side, we try to use our assets differently, where we can be seen as a very open service, very inviting, engaging, and you know, up to date. And this all, I suppose, culminates and a brand message, and that's really important. What do people, I suppose, see, feel, and think when they look at your brand? So together, all of these components, they create the look and tone of your services to the outside world. But your message is one of the key important elements. And our two campaigns had two clear messages. But the message has to relate back to your target audience. So you need to identify who your audiences are. Obviously, we have students, we have graduates, and industry partners, and our university colleagues too. But you have to, I suppose, prioritize you're developing a brand, you have to introduce it to people, and with that comes an awful lot of work. So for us, early on last summer, launching this to our employers, then working on a student campaign as we came into the next academic year. So the two different, I suppose, voices, messages, and I suppose personality of the campaign is illustrated through our kind of tagline. So the "We Are the Difference" tagline. It comes across most of our employer campaign assets, and highlighted there then is employability, placement, and advice, our core areas that we work in. On the student side, we had focus on you. We wanted students to associate us very clearly with the transition to the workplace, that at this stage of their early career journey, that the focus needs to be on them, and that we would put the focus on them. So speaking very strongly to the student voice, that this is a stage where they need to focus on themselves to ensure that they develop the employability skills and use the resources available to them to effectively transition to the workplace. On the employer campaign, or "We Are the Difference" campaign. So at this stage, our designer, we'd had some digital assets created, we had some videos created, and it's great to have all that, but you have to out there. That's how you establish the brand. And we did that through mail shot campaigns. We had very nicely designed emails sent out through MailChimp. There was a cost associated with that, but I don't think there'd be a cost for anything like that going forward. Using Target Connect, the email editor in there is on par with MailChimp. So, you know, that's even more cost effective this year when we want to get back out there with our summertime campaigns. We developed a new employer landing page to try to streamline communication. It was really launched when this brand was launched, and that formed part of the mail shot campaigns as well. And within that employer webpage, in order to try to streamline the communication, each staff member who'd engage with employers had the created, where they explained who they are, what they do, and you know how employers can engage with them to recruit, placement, or graduate students. The branding then was across all communications, so every email that goes to an employer, we have our signatures at the end, which is branded. We have headings. We have really nicely designed templates now on Target Connect that we can keep reusing to send out information and just keep re-establishing that brand as much as we could. And feedback was very, very strong. You know, we were told how professional it looked, that you know, it was quite engaging, and the videos were a good help as well. An employer for the first time, it's great to be able to send a little video and explain, this is who I am, this is what I do, I'd love to engage with you. So just the impact of that work. The employer landing for the 3 months after the rebrand, so just from the summer into kind of September time, 1,607 visits to the employer landing page. That was a 175% increase on the same period in 2019. So we were quite surprised at that. We were well taken aback, and we were absolutely delighted that they were coming on the site, they were engaging, they were clicking through and exploring. One of the core, I suppose, communications where we were able to establish this brand is through the virtual fair communications. So back in October, obviously, we hosted the virtual recruitment fair, and we thought this is a great opportunity to really, I suppose, embed the brand as much as possible with our employers. So we used a tool called Microsoft's Way, something I'll mention again a little bit later on, which allows you to create really customizable, well-branded, engaging, and interactive newsletters. So we took all of the assets Graduate Land had sent to us, we hosted on the Graduate Land platform. We took all of those videos and we placed them into this really branded guide. Now, over 100 employers, but it got 645 views. We got huge feedback on that it was being sent across. They were using it for other Graduate Land fairs that they were attending, and it just really allowed communication that had to be sent to implement that brand as strongly as we could. Now, our mail shot campaign was sent to just stakeholders, but it got 5,181 engagements overall. So it was being through, people were really taking note. And as a result, we did see in those weeks following the mail shots a spike on our LinkedIn connections, 3 new unique connections, and across Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well. We did see a spike in followership and engagement with our platforms, and we could track that on the back end of. Wonderful to see. Now, these are just some of the examples of the different digital assets that we created. You can see that on the employer-facing campaign are 4. So we wanted, I suppose, our team to be the voice and the faces of the campaign. Not everyone was delighted about that, but it was fabulous. get us out there as well and establish that relationship with employers. So you can see here we have Claude Kerr, it's one of our placement managers, base of the We Are Experienced banner, and all of these banners are used in different ways and different communications to employers. We have bespoke web banners made, again with our employability, our placement and advice, and our teams featured. And this is just an example of the little boxes we created on our website. When you click in, you had access to who we are, how to contact us, and about what we do. Because the brand had been established earlier this year, then we engaged again with the designer to create a series of videos that again would try to streamline communication that little bit more information in as engaging a way as possible to our employers. Employer guide to work placement videos that are nicely animated and use all the different elements of our campaign, and those have been a great help. You know, just at any stage of the placement process, there's a video that will explain to the employer what they can do and how to progress. Campaign then focused on students, so it was our student and graduate facing, and to implement that, again, mail shot campaigns were sent out, social media campaigns, some we'll discuss again in a moment. We created a new section, the branding throughout, and the Connect dashboard again was heightened. All of the materials, videos that we PowerPoint slides, Panopto recordings, Canvas, so on, everything had the new branding across it. If you stood long enough, I'd say it next to me, I would have painted a colour. But you can see images, they have a different focus, and they're all consistent. Sorry, we have our colours, we have our font, and that was, we created a brand that could be reused, that we could manipulate ourselves, and that we could, you know, redesign assets. Now, the impact of creating, you know, engaging communications was huge for us. So, for example, let's take an example. Fair notification mail that we sent to huge cohort of students received 200. There was 2,000 nearly students showed up on the day, but those who actually got stuck into the email and read it and read the advice, it was quite few. So this year we thought, okay, let's try to, you know, use this communication to establish our brand and get students more aware of who we are and what we do, so that we're more recognizable across all. So again, we used Sway to create a really engaging newsletter that gave all the fair, but because we were able to embed videos, digital assets, you know, make clickable stacks of information, it became to be a really, I suppose, engaging, and where students spent time in it. And there was 5,231 deep reads of it. So that's a huge jump from 247. Now, I have no doubt, you know, that relates to the fact that it was an online event, that I'm sure students were much more nervous about it this year. They didn't really know, you know, how to engage on a platform like this. But certainly the branding helped. And that was the feedback that we had, that it was really colourful, it was engaging, it was professional, it was packed with resources. So it was huge for us to be able to, I suppose, implement the brand really impactfully through those early. There we could just build on it. Example, other assets that were created by the designers. So the We Are Respectful, again, pulling through the value and that message of, you know, the graduate attributes and the skills that our students have. We are ambitious, we are resilient, and even though they're all different images, you can see they still carry that. But there comes a point as well where you can't, you know, get a designer to create everything for you. So we've been using free tools to manipulate these assets and to redesign them and to create our own. So the banner up along the top here, we just made that ourselves on Spark, the tool I'm going to show you there in a second. We were to as well use digital assets that had been created, say, recruitment fair. We could change the text in those and use the ends of the image still. So this one was about practice, but we just changed it around to a practice your interview technique so that we can use it to promote our social media platforms. So as I say, you can't, you know, you'd want a budget of millions to keep going back to a designer for absolutely everything that you wanted to create. And what was important for us with this brand is that it constantly stayed fresh, so that we could, you know, change around the assets ourselves, incorporate the different colors, bring different themes through. And we did this relatively cheaply with Adobe Spark, Microsoft Sway, and Canva. So Adobe Spark is a free tool. You can create images, GIFs, videos, banners, very if on your website, if you want to put up a new banner, once you get the pixel measurements for that, you put them into Spark and it will create the right size for you. Now, what I found out throughout this process is that because our institute had an Adobe license, which across the country we had access to the full premium Spark. We just didn't know about it. So certainly in your own institution, if you want to use, an easy, contact your IT team and see if you have that full license for Adobe Spark, and you can start right away on the premium. If not, it's really functional, the free version as well, so you can work away on that. But that's us in implementing this brand over the last few months in particular, to be able to design our own graphics and to reuse what we had been given by the designer and put a new fresh face on it. Microsoft Sway, I've mentioned that a few times. This is this brilliant newsletter designer. You can create guides, you can create booklets, and if you have the Office 365 package, chances are you have Sway. If you pop in to your emails, pop up to your 4 little buttons up in the top left-hand corner, that brings you to your apps. Keep scrolling down, the chances are you have Sway there. We were one of the first, I suppose, units in the university to use Sway, and from there we're all over the place. So we have our HR team have started to use it for wellness, notifications and newsletters, and our marketing started to look into it. So you wouldn't even realize you have it. It's a really great free tool. Definitely have a look and see if it's available to you. Canva is another free online. You can create you can design images, you can create forms, digital assets. So again, it's well worth having a look at what tools are available to you, talking to the IT team if this is something that you want to engage in, and just use what's out there, because as I say, it can get quite expensive, and going to be tight obviously in HEIs for a while ahead, so you have to be creative. This brand going. If you make that investment early on, there's an awful lot you can do afterwards to create more digital assets yourself. And we particularly used Spark to develop different social media campaigns. And at this stage, I'll hand over to Shane Horan, who's going to discuss a few slides on visual identity across social media.
Thank you, Adele. Hi, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the conference. I'm sure it's no surprise that social media platforms are the best way to reach students. However, you are competing against the likes of CNN, the Kardashians, and the Premier League. This highlights the importance of making a strong, unified impact. All your posts are to be instantly recognizable, no matter the platform or the content on the post. As Adele has mentioned, we use Spark to quickly and easily build posts for all the different platforms. On our next slide, you will see our formula for doing this. So we focused on looking into the insights that we were able to see just when the students were visiting the platforms and when was the best time to schedule posts that would reach them. We would use free tools like Creator Studio and TweetDeck to make the targeted posts at these times. A lot of the time we found that students were visiting our platforms outside our office hours, so we would have to schedule to make sure we were getting in contact with them. Then we would tag the relevant societies and departments, and this would increase our exposure as they would reshare, and it would also create more engagement as those societies and departments are getting involved with us and they're communicating with us. So it's helping both our social media platforms and their social media platforms. And then every month we would look back on this and repeat the process. So on the next slide, you will see just a simple bar chart from when we implemented the branding to the end of the year. There was a striking increase in our Instagram following, which is the more visual social media platform, of 135%, and a strong increase on LinkedIn of 36%. I will hand you back to Adele now, but if you wish to discuss anything further, you can contact me on LinkedIn.
Great, thanks a million, Shane. And Shane has just been fundamental to creating really fun and engaging Instagram stories, and it's just been incredible to watch over the last year just how much engagement has risen on those platforms. Now, just to, I suppose, wrap up, we were surprised at what an impact this visual identity made within our institution itself. So for a number of years, we would have worked closely with the College of Arts, Celtic Studies, Sciences, Elaine Brown and Shane Nolan, our careers consultants, to develop Humanities and Social Sciences Careers Week. Now, this year, when we came on board again, we made it clear that, you know, we need to create some sort of visual identity around these type of events. We need to create some sort of visual identity for employability initiatives within CACs. And CACs were really open to that. And we worked together with designers to establish that you can see here. So they the college colours, the purple, but they still lean on our branding with our font so that we're with this, an employability webpage was launched on the Career Service, on the College of Arts main homepage, and that links directly back to us. So we came together for Humanities and Social Sciences Week and created a range of digital assets that promoted the week, highlighted the involvement of the our own as well. So this banner here has elements, but it still has some of the imagery that CACs would use regularly. Now, this year was the most successful Humanities and Social to date. So in 2020, overall, I suppose the registrations were low. It was physical, and you know, some students were caught in lectures and so on. But overall, we really wanted this year to have a much bigger impact. 521% increase in the number of registrations that we received. So just shy of 1,000 students had registered, and since then they've engaged with. So it's just been incredible the impact that this has made. Our collaborations with other colleges as well. So just to wrap up, some key points. A rebranding exercise will make you more recognisable to stakeholders, and that was really what we wanted to do. As Liam Neeson says here, he had a much better idea after the rebranding. And it's true, you will see an increase in engagement with your services once you change up the branding and implement it really well. You have to consider why you want to do it. Is it necessary? You currently have. Maybe you just need to, you know, expand more on the current brand that you have. So it doesn't have to be a whole rebranding exercise. If you have a good starting point, we hope that you can just come away here today with even just a few ideas on how to expand it. It's really marketing teams, get a good graphic designer as institution before, and have a team to all platforms. It's really important that absolutely every touch point, every communication point of your branding, because you make investment in it that you have to keep it going and you have to get it in platforms. So having a passionate team who can do that is, and use the free tools available to establish your it's going to be very important going forward to be creative and use what's there. And using Spark, Sway, and having a look at Canva, seeing what your institution offers and leveraging that. And keep it, the brand is established, you have to have consistency across your platforms, and a core of our work over the last number of months going into the summer. And as we launch more marketing campaigns to our different stakeholders, we want to evolve as much as possible fresh so that it's not just a rehash of last year. We leave it there, and I just a huge thank you again to Catherine and the made this possible.
Thank you so